A grounding. No grounding in the classics. I haven't slept for 3 nights or 3 days, and my eyes are more red than white. I laugh in the mirror. Turn that sound off. Just settings. Sound effects off. Excellent. I laugh in the mirror, and I've been listening to the clock tick, and the gas of my heater smells. A hot, thick, heavy smell. Run through with the sounds of cars. Cars strung up like ornaments in my head. I have read the classics, and on my couch sleeps a wine-soaked whore, who for the first time has heard Beethoven's Ninth. And bored has fallen asleep, politely listening. Just think, Daddy, she said, with your brains, you might be the first man to copulate on the moon. Little Charles Bukowski to get your morning started. This is from The Days Run Away Like Wild Horses Over the Hills by Charles Bukowski. Let's see if we can have another one. I don't think we're ready to start yet. Oh, here we go. And again, apologies for the words or the ideas that Bukowski's choosing here if they're offensive to you. They're probably from the 70s or 80s, so if we can look through it with that kind of a frame, maybe we can understand where he's coming from. Am I loud enough? I don't think I'm loud enough. I can't hear myself well. Here we go. A poem is a city. A poem is a city filled with streets and sewers, filled with saints, heroes, beggars, madmen, filled with banality and booze, filled with rain and thunder and periods of drought. A poem is a city at war. A poem is a city asking a clock why. A poem is a city burning. A poem is a city under guns, its barbershops filled with cynical drunks. A poem is a city where God rides naked through the streets like Lady Godiva, where dogs bark at night and chase away the flag. A poem is a city of poets, most of them quite similar, and envious, and bitter. A poem is this city now, 50 miles from nowhere, 9:09 in the morning, the taste of liquor and cigarettes. No police, no lovers, walking the street. This poem, this city, closing its doors, barricaded, almost empty, mournful without tears, aging without pity. The hard rock mountains, the ocean like a lavender flame, a moon destitute of greatness, a small music from broken windows. A poem is a city, a poem is a nation, a poem is the world. And now I stick this under glass for the mad editor's scrutiny, and night is elsewhere, and faint gray ladies stand in line. Dog follows dog to estuary. The trumpets bring on gallows, as small men rant at things they cannot do. Oh, hello there. I didn't see you guys come in. Welcome to, used to say Bitcoin talk show, but this is just a Bitcoin price down, not a celebration, not a funeral, maybe somewhere in between a celebration and a funeral. As you guys know from the title and from every other screaming webpage, the price of Bitcoin is down. As of right now, it's down 36% in the last 7 days. It's down 17% in the last 24 hours. Ethereum is down 43% in the last 7 days. It's down 26% in the last hour. We're going to go and open this up on Twitter Spaces if you'd like to join us at Mad Bitcoins on Twitter. You can join the room. We've got a couple people here. We're going to go ahead and add everybody to speak. So if you guys would like to come up, mainly we're talking about the price of Bitcoin, but again, we don't know anything. We don't know if it's going up or down. Obviously, we can look around and see the usual suspects. Elon Musk's angry tweets about Bitcoin, according to CNN, that caused the price to plunge to 40,000. China is back again. Where's the webpage? I don't have it up right here. But China is once again threatening to ban Bitcoin, now saying that they're banning their citizens from owning it or trading it. Truly, we're being set back here.
Hey, Matt, can I say something?
Sure, say something. You're a little loud, but go ahead. I'll turn you down a little. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I've been following you for a while, been in the space since 2015. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious what happened here. I mean, you've been in the space for a while too. I remember countlessly telling my buddies, just be careful in what you're investing in when it comes to altcoins and that kind of stuff. People at his work, older guys buying crypto phones, talking about how ADA is the future, Dogecoin at 75 cents. It's pretty obvious we needed a washout in the market. It's unfortunate that all the FUD came in all at once during 1 week, including the Elon stuff, like you were saying, the China stuff. But I think we're good. I think we all just need to play it how we did before, and I think eventually in the next 5-6 months we'll be making all-time highs again.
It does seem like we were due for a correction, especially like you're saying with Dogecoin and the altcoins. I went to a lot of people are getting vaccinated here. I'm vaccinated. I went to a small kind of outdoor dinner party with my parents and some of their friends. And you know how it is with the older generations. They're not that much into computers. They've got some iPhones and some iPads and that kind of thing, but not much else. But everybody at the party was telling me about Bitcoin. Except the unfortunate part is they weren't telling me about Bitcoin. They were telling me about Dogecoin and Ethereum. A friend of mine lived next door to my parents my whole childhood growing up. Very excited to have some Dogecoin. It was up to 60 cents and he was sitting pretty. And I wanted to tell him to sell immediately. I didn't have the heart to do it. A lot of the Dogecoin people believed it was going to $1 no matter what. And it had probably already gone from 40 cents to 60 cents. So my parents' friends were in the red. They were in the black. They were doing good, And I just couldn't sell it. You can't convince people like that. And the other ones at the party were excited. They'd bought Ethereum. So Ethereum's at $2,300. Dogecoin is at 32 cents. So a little short of where people thought they would be. But I agree with the caller, too. I don't think this is the end. Sorry.
Yeah, I definitely agree, man, for sure. Yeah, the froth, it was just insane, right? Like, when you go to parties like that and you hear people talking about, like I couldn't even go out for dinner without hearing the person across from me talking about Doge or ADA. And like, I had like 5 messages today. One of my cousins just said he got liquidated on 50K. My other cousin's down 50K, I mean, I even told them as well, you guys got to be careful. You're getting too excited. When things get this exciting, it doesn't usually end well. No one listened, and now everyone's panicking up all night staring at the chart. We know how it is, right? But it is what it is, man. This is how the game is played. No one said it would be easy. People were making way too much money way too easily. I haven't been here for 7 years just to get out traded by some kid who bought Shiba Inu on Binance Smart Chain. You know what I mean? It doesn't really work like that. They always give it back, man. They always give it back.
Well, let's take a little bit here and let's talk about what you mean by liquidated. Explain how that happens with the leverages and how people were probably over leveraged going into this.
Yeah, so people get in. I mean, we were trading from 40K to 64K for what? Maybe 3 months, I'd say, maybe more. So, I mean, you can imagine all the buyers from 40K to 65K who have conviction that the price is going to 100K. So they leverage their positions up and, the conviction gets to their head. They don't think the price can dip. When the price starts to dip, they get close to their liquidation price. And the only way to get out of the position is you either close, you add more to your portfolio so your liquidation price goes lower, but not everybody who's here and who's new has money in cold storage just to transfer over and over and over to keep their liquidation lower and lower. So eventually, when there's a capitulation like this, people aren't ready for it. say their liquidation was at 30, you know, they didn't expect it to go down to 29. So that's just how it happens. It's a cascading effect, right? Once one person gets liquidated, the next person will get liquidated. It'll just go down, and this is usually what causes these big price moves. Is, you know, how much of the market was really levered? I'd say a huge amount. You can see the funding rates; they're insane. They're still insane, right? But I mean, yeah, that's the gist of it. I mean, that's not the game you want to be playing. Maybe at 6K up, but you know, when you're getting into the high prices, it's not smart to play with leverage, especially when the market is frothy. That's my opinion.
Now, the idea with leverage is that you can borrow others people's money and then use that money to trade. And of course, this seems a very attractive idea at first, especially when Bitcoin's going up all the time. You're like, of course I can borrow other people's money and increase my gains. But like you're saying, when Bitcoin goes the other direction, and especially as this sometimes happens quickly, sometimes it happens overnight while you're sleeping. I saw just yesterday on C-SPAN, they were like, the Bitcoin market's closed. Ding, 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 ding. And they pretended that it was closed, but we all know that's not true. The crypto markets never close. And that's why it can be such a stressful thing to trade. I remember, you know, very early on, I was, you know, a young and stupid, and I was trying to trade Bitcoin, you know, every day, every hour. And you'd get pretty stressed going into sleep. You'd be like, I don't know if I should sleep in cash or sleep in Bitcoin. You don't have any idea what the news is going to be like overnight, and it can cause you some sleeping problems. And that's why I found it was a lot better just to hold my Bitcoin and see what happens. Of course, it's very difficult. A lot of people become over-invested, where you've put too much of your money, too much of your monthly into Bitcoin, and this can cause you lots of stress when it moves up and down. Of course, if you're under-invested, you have that, you know, FOMO, where you're like, oh, I made, you know, $100, but I could have made $1,000. So it's very easy. It's tough to find that kind of middle point where you're happily invested, and it goes up and you're okay with it. But when it goes down, it doesn't destroy your world. So I think it's tough to find that kind of middle ground there.
I mean, it's a little bit hard for me to relate because I've been in for so long that, you know, these prices won't destroy my world, but I have sympathy for people who have bought in the last few years and they are down on their money. I mean, I understand. But, you know, now's not the time to panic. I mean, now's the time to do what everyone says is, you know, buy the dip. I mean, if you have conviction the bull market is not over, which I do not think it is. Like I said, I think we're like everyone is saying, I still think we're in the first wave. I think we're going to have the correction and then the sentiment is going to pick up again. But, yeah, the only advice I have for everyone is just, you know, I know it's hard not to panic too much. Just try to look away from the charts. You know, last night was pretty bad. To be honest, for some reason, that capitulation overnight felt almost worse than the 2018 capitulation. I'm not sure why. Maybe it was because it was over a long period of time. But, you know, I understand last night was pretty brutal, especially for new people that have come into the space. So, you know, you're not alone. There's a lot of people who are in the same position as you who feel the same way. It's just, you got to listen to the people who have been in the space for a long time and just trust, right? This is the future of finance and we're all still very, very early. So, you know, this stuff is, it's bound to happen.
Well, and to compare last night with 2018, just as a very basic thing, I don't remember exactly what happened in 2018, but it felt like there was about a week there where we were feeling really good. And there was a week where we were like on top of the world and Bitcoin was going to go to 30 and 50 and 200 and all these things. And everybody was feeling really good. And then it went from about 18,000 or 19,000 all the way down to 6,000. And everyone felt really bad, right? You'd lost 2/3 of your money. You planned on what you were going to do with it. You had all these ideas. Plus, you didn't want to even spend it then because I remember I was like, let's just hold everything, hold all the way, you know, never taking even 10% off the table, which was disastrous later on because I still had bills in the real world. So I think at a time like this, we've probably all made the bad mistake of multiplying the number of Bitcoin or pieces of Bitcoin that we have times the price. So we know the price, we know it goes up and down. It would be a lot better if we didn't know that. but I think we have to fall back on our basic principles, right? Which for me are live cheaply, don't buy expensive stuff, don't get large loans, don't buy expensive cars, all that kind of thing. Live cheaply. And then this is where that diversification comes in. And I know everyone's like hardcore, hodl everything, put everything in Bitcoin, but there is another option there where you do have some other things. You have a little bit of a house mortgage. You have a little bit of a car payment. You have maybe a car you've paid off. You know, you have a couple of assets, and this is a good time to take some pleasure in those assets because you probably bought them with Bitcoin. So normally you're like, I hate all my stuff. I bought it with Bitcoin. It could have been Bitcoin. I'm so stupid. Why did I buy anything? Now, at least you can be like, I got a good pair of shoes. I got an okay mattress. You know, I got these basic things that make my life okay, even on the days where Bitcoin goes down. So I think we just have to be grateful and take some appreciation in the good things we have. I've got a fridge full of food. The water that comes out of the tap is pretty clean if I use the reverse osmosis device, that kind of thing. We got to go to those basics. So let's open it up. We had a couple more speakers join us. Dan, why don't you say hello, and then we'll talk again to Heart B. Sorry, I didn't get your name. Dan, say hello. What's going on this morning, Dan?
Hello. You know, obviously, everybody's panicking, and I guess the one thing from like listening to being on Clubhouse and things like that, especially for the new people, us old school guys still freak out too. You know, freaking out is very natural and normal, and it's okay. But one of the things you don't want to do is you don't want to panic sell, right? So I think that dollar cost averaging in and out is really the best way to do it. So if you feel like, hey, this is getting toppy, or this value would impact my life more somewhere else, like if you have a house project that you've been wanting to do, or school tuition that you needed to pay, or something like that. Those are all great uses of some gains. But again, you got to keep in mind too that when we're at those tops, like 50 to 60,000, like we were, you have to realize that nobody sells at those tops, right? Nobody gets out. I mean, some people do, obviously, but you can't beat yourself up either for saying, "Oh, gee, I should have, I could have, I would have," because people don't do that. And then when it's down like this, you simply have to decide, well, is now the time for me to take that % off, or hey, you know, if it goes down to, God forbid, like 20 from here or something like that, I'll be okay and everything will be fine and it won't be a big deal. So I just be careful of just try to control your emotions a little bit and don't freak out. If you think you have to sell it absolutely today, then that might be an indication to you that you're getting emotional about it. And if you're really, really feeling like it's time for me to start selling because I have other things I need to do with this money, then say, okay, I'll sell a little bit every week to start dollar cost averaging out. But yeah, I guess the moral is don't panic. It's going to be okay. You bought it because you believed in this space and this asset. So if you still believe in this space and this asset, it's just, and most of this is whale traffic, pushing the price around, trying to get people to sell. So I would say, in my opinion, I'm holding. I'm not selling anything. But do what you got to do, because a lot of this is going to be more for your psychological benefit than it will be for your financial one. So that's all.
I definitely agree with that. And I would just say for myself as an old timer and all that, my worst sells are the largest sells. So whenever you're really freaking and you're like, oh, I've got this in here and I'm going to sell 30% or I'm going to sell 50%, I'm going to take a serious reduction. You feel a lot better. You feel safer after the sell. But 2 months later, 3 months later, you're kind of kicking yourself. And I think it comes down to the size of the sell. So certainly if you got to pay rent, if you got to pay bills and that kind of thing, get that money out of there, right? If it's rent money, it's bills money, let's pay our bills, right? Let's be responsible people. And again, I don't feel bad any time that I've had to sell to pay my bills. I feel good that I paid my bills and I'm a responsible person. I feel bad when I've sold larger sells. Those always look bad. They always spike on the little chart. You can see them. So I'd watch out for that. But generally, again, not financial advice. Got to do what you got to do. If you're freaking out today, it's probably a sign that you're overinvested. And I know it's a bummer. You're like, I'm not overinvested. I'm a confident, very smart, genius crypto investor, and I made lots of money, except for today. And that's great, but that's probably a sign that you're overinvested. You were gambling, you were winning, you felt good. Now you're gambling and you're losing and you feel bad. So let's try to get back off the gambling, get more into the investing, where just like stocks and bonds, you've got some money in savings, you got some money in, house, you got some money coming in, you have all these different piles, and some of them are investment. It's not like all or nothing gambling money. That's gambling, and it's fun, especially on the way up, but it's no fun on the way down. So you just got to take control of your investments and take control of your reality. Also, I think some meditation exercises might come in handy. Do a little breathing before you sell. Maybe you could sell half of what you're trying. Maybe you could sell 20%, 30%. I'm not, maybe I'm wrong and it goes to zero and you're right to get out now, but I think you might be happier long run if you take just a little bit off the table. Let's go back to Heart B. What do you think about this?
Yeah. So just to add to what you guys were saying, yeah, like I said, I've been in the space since 2015. I've been fortunate enough to work in the space since 2015. I own a network of Bitcoin ATMs in Canada. So I'm also able to see sentiment through buying and selling at my machines. But like Mad was saying and Dan was saying, once you do end up making life-changing gains, through experience, it's very, very important to take the money you need to invest in other things to create multiple streams of income. Like, I'm not saying that I haven't lost a ton of money over the last 2 weeks. I mean, it would probably make people extremely sick, but I'm willing to hold the drawdown, and I've put enough money away and I've generated enough sources of income where I will be all right through this, whether it goes to 0 or 1,000 or 10,000 or whatever, I'll still be okay. But that's a key point in the Bitcoin investment strategy, I believe, is, for you guys who are experiencing this dip right now, and, for a lot of us, we think it's going to go much higher. This is also a strategy you can use going forward. If this is a low part in the market, that, when it does go to 150,000 or when it does go to 125K or whatever it may be, use this time and this lesson that you've kind of just learned, or this moment that you've experienced, that, maybe things aren't always the best. Use that lesson going forward. So when the price does go up, you guys can take that money and you can feel comfortable. And yeah, we're all still panicking. Like Dan said, everybody's, going through the same thing. It's rough for all of us, but if you do have that little bit of protection and that safety net that you've insured for yourself, then, things are okay. It's like when people say, if you hold spot, you're good. But if you're on leverage, you have things to worry about. So also another thing I might add is, I had a lot of people at my machines this morning and last night selling, just retail investors. So when I see a frenzy and a rush of people calling me or contacting our customer service and saying, hey, how much money is in the machine, we're looking to sell, blah, 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 it kind of gives me an idea of what's happening. I mean, I can see just through retail, everyone's capitulating, and I could see retail on the way up. Everyone was buying. So if that makes any difference to you guys, usually when people are rushing to the machines and trying to capitulate all at once, it's usually near the bottom. So maybe that'll make you guys feel a bit better. It makes me feel a bit better knowing that it's kind of been the same thing over the last 5 years. So I'm just going by sentiment and what I know and through experience. And, I don't think this is over, guys. I think we have a long way to go still.
I'm also reminded by my favorite line from the David Mamet movie Heist. And I don't think enough people have watched this movie. It's about Gene Hackman, and he's a bank robber. And one of the things he says when he's explaining how he does his plans or how he plans to rob banks, he says, I try to think of what someone smarter than me would do, and then I do that. So if I was to look around at the smart people in this market, and obviously Elon Musk is not one of them, I would look at Adam Back from Blockstream, one of the early creators of some of the technologies similar to Bitcoin, and a great programmer and person who really understands the space. And he's been very bullish, even as it's going down. And I would also look, although I did have some doubts on them, and I'm not surprised to see Elon turn off, but it looks like Michael Saylor is sticking with us. So Michael Saylor, again, very wealthy man, runs a big company, certainly has money set aside, like we were saying, diversification. He's got multiple homes. He's got piles of cash. He's got luxury cars that he could probably sell if he wanted to. So he's in a fine position, and he's buying this dip. I don't know if he's buying this second dip. I don't know if Tesla's thinking it was such a great idea to hold on to their coins. I remember a few days ago when Elon started dumping on Bitcoin, I was like, well, why didn't you just sell? And now a lot of people are wondering why they didn't just sell. Tesla had all that profit. They were in such a good position. But we do see the smart money is buying more, holding what they have. And as many have started joking again on Twitter, they're eating top ramen again. So there's always a chance to reduce your expenses more, or to cancel that HBO Max subscription, or whatever it might be, just to try to squeeze through this, right? Because this is not going to be like this forever. Part of what happens with depression and with sadness and all these things is you get sad, and then you get sadder, and then you look at the price again and you get more sad, and you think about how you could have had an RV or a van that you could have lived in, and how sweet that would have been, and how you didn't buy it, and now it's gone. But that's just right now, right? That's just right now. If you go to the kitchen and have a piece of bread, or eat some drink some water, things change, right? You're thinking more about, maybe I should go brush my teeth, or maybe I should drink another glass of water. So you just have to distract yourself. You have to walk away from this screen. You shouldn't look at it all the time. I'm just bringing it on here for historical purposes and all that, but you have to move along. You can't just worry about this all day. So let's have some fun with other people's sadness, although I guess it's not that fun. Coinbase's website is down again. So for a lot of new people, you probably bought on Coinbase. You hold a lot of funds on Coinbase. And if you wanted to freak out and sell, you can't right now, because Coinbase is down. They're making me do a CAPTCHA to even get to the webpage. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, there.
Hey, Thomas,
back up.
Something I wanted to mention about, like, following smart people in the space. I would really encourage people to go one level deeper and say, like Michael Saylor, for example, go out to hope.com, listen to him speak, and understand why his hands are so strong. Like, because what happens is once you understand the fundamentals behind why someone like that has such strong conviction, you will have strong conviction just because now it's not following the person, it's following the ideas of that person. So I would say that's kind of important, because the Musk thing, the problem is people followed him instead of actually following, like, his ideas, which he seems to not have had any, which is a bummer.
I'm just a random guy. Can I
go ahead,
follow
Mitchell.
on Dan's thoughts here?
What's going on?
So,
Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm just a random pleb. I'm probably down a few million with this dip here. And the difference between me and last March, I actually did freak out a bit. And why I'm
did
so
you say a
calm
few
now,
million?
Yes.
Just so the listeners know.
Yeah, Mitchell, just to add to you, I'm with you, buddy. I'm in the same
Okay.
boat.
So, and why I'm calm is because, and I'm sure I'm jumping in here just to potentially talk to some random people who might be freaking out in this room, even though there's probably like 20 people. It's just, you need conviction. You need to go down the Bitcoin rabbit hole and realize and come to the conclusion that Bitcoin is inevitable. The Earth, the planet is fucked without Bitcoin. Humanity is fucked without Bitcoin. If I'm going to give you the TLDR of thousands of hours going down macro Bitcoin, checking my biases, trying to figure out where I'm wrong. That's the cliff notes. This thing is going to happen. You're going to see Bitcoin have a strong recovery. You're going to see Bitcoin at six figures, probably this year. You're going to see Bitcoin at $1 million, probably 2024, 2025 is my target, and multiple millions by the end of the decade. You just need to, and we're lucky, right? Because we do have Sailor, and we have a genius who's actually articulate, and every time he goes on a podcast, he just nails it. He talks about the same thing sometimes, but in a different way, and he just kills it. And it's great that newer people have him. I definitely recommend checking out all the podcasts he's on. Read Jeff Booth's book, The Price of Tomorrow, and just understand like the fundamentals of Bitcoin and the situation that the world is in, right? We're an inflationary system, and we have technology creating deflation, and how these worlds can't coincide. So yes, it all, the new people can go on Twitter and they'll see, everyone's not freaking out, but this is of course uncomfortable for everybody. But it becomes a little bit more bearable when, of course, you just understand how this is all going to play out. That's all I wanted to say. Everyone who's freaking out, don't try to buy the dip. Don't trade this shit. The other day, actually, I sold one of my supercards to buy more Bitcoin. And of course, I actually got a margin call from my BlockFi loan. And that was a little freaky, but all good. That's all I want to say. Just keep buying the dip. Learn more about Bitcoin. You're going to see Bitcoin recover pretty strong here, I think, and that's going to help strengthen people's convictions and stuff. That's all.
Thanks so much, Mitchell. I definitely agree with that. And it is good to look at these stronger hands and to see people out there. I remember for a long time we wanted Elon Musk, we wanted Mark Cuban to get into Bitcoin, and we would write them notes on Twitter and we would tip them with Change Tip and anything we could do to try to draw them in. And Elon kept saying that a buddy of his had given him a quarter of a Bitcoin and that was all he knew about it. And Mark Cuban kept saying that we were scammers and it was a Ponzi and that it used energy and all these things. And then all of a sudden a switch flipped and Mark Cuban, Elon Musk, even Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank are all suddenly friends of Bitcoin now. Although Mr. Wonderful only likes green Bitcoin. Ooh. So it was interesting to see all these people flip. But the way they flipped wasn't like the way that Michael Saylor flipped. It seemed that Michael Saylor really got the news and the knowledge and the information. He went down the rabbit hole, as Mitchell had said, and he really